We're going to be going back a ways today, as we're going to be looking at the top 10 wide receiver recruits from the 2008 recruiting class. The top 2 names on this list will sound familiar, but you're really going to have to put your college football knowledge to the test for the rest of these names. Before we get to today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to the channel. If you're a college football fan, then this is definitely the place for you. If there's a top 10 video you'd like to see in the future, drop a comment down below and it very well could be the next list I do. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Posey, who committed to Ohio State. He attended LaSalle High School in Cincinnati. He stayed close to home as he committed to the Buckeyes. During his 4 years at Ohio State, he totaled 136 catches for 2,000 yards and 18 touchdowns. His best season came during his sophomore year when he had 60 catches for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. While he was at Ohio State, he was part of that suspended group of players who were caught selling jerseys, pants, and shoes that they had previously worn in games. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 2012 NFL Draft by the Houston Texans. He had 6 catches and 90 yards during his rookie season, but suffered a ruptured Achilles tendon during the playoffs. The following season, he had 15 catches for 150 yards. He was traded to the Jets in 2015, but was waived prior to the start of the season. In 2016, he was signed by the Broncos, but was waived prior to the season again. In September of 2016, he signed with the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL. During his first 4 games, he had 13 catches for 160 yards. After a strong start to the 2017 season, he was placed on the team's 6-game injured reserve list with an undisclosed injury. Then in November, he scored a touchdown in the 105th Grey Cup on a 100-yard pass play, the longest pass in the championship game's history, and he was named the Grey Cup's most valuable player. He was set to become a free agent in February of 2018, but was released by the Argos, so he pursued NFL opportunities. He signed with the Ravens, but was released prior to the start of the season. He went back to the CFL as he signed with the BC Lions. In 8 games with them, he caught 29 passes for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Then, the following season, he signed with the Montreal Alouettes. He played in 3 games early in the season, catching 9 passes for 100 yards with a touchdown. In total, he played 12 games in 2019 and caught 50 passes for 800 yards and 3 touchdowns. Prior to 2020 free agency, he was released. After becoming a free agent again, he signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats in February of last year. Following a canceled 2020 season, he agreed to a new contract with them just a few weeks ago. Coming in at number 9 is Darryl Stone. He attended John Foster Dulles High School in Texas. He finished his high school career with 94 catches for 2,000 yards and 26 touchdowns. As a freshman in Michigan in 2008, he caught 14 passes for 176 yards. During his sophomore season, he broke Michigan's single-season record with 39 kickoff returns for 1,000 yards. He had a 94-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, the 6th longest in Michigan history. He also had 13 catches for 200 yards and a touchdown. In June of 2010, he served 3 days in jail for violating his probation following a September 2008 charge of operating a vehicle while visibly impaired. He then went on to have the best season of his career in 2010, as he was the team's 2nd leading receiver with 49 catches for 630 yards and 4 touchdowns. However, that following offseason, he was back in the public eye again. In May of 2011, he was suspended from the football team indefinitely for legal issues. He violated probation in a drunken driving case and was scheduled for a January 2012 probation compliance hearing. He was sentenced to 10 days in jail, but following his jail term, he was dismissed from Michigan. He then transferred to Baylor, where he appeared in 8 games. He had 3 catches for 80 yards and 1 touchdown, while also having 150 kick return yards. In 2020, he was a wide receiver for the Duke City Gladiators of the Arena Football League. When he wasn't playing football, he had another job, as he worked on the chase crew for the Rainbow Riders, a hot air balloon company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Up next at number 8 is Josh Jarbo. He attended Cedar Grove High School in Georgia. He recorded 34 catches for 650 yards and 5 touchdowns as a senior and was a first-team All-State in 2007. He committed to Oklahoma, where unfortunately he never saw the field. After looking into his story, I'm actually going to be doing a solo video on him because his journey was unlike one I've seen in college football. Long story short, he was kicked off the team at Oklahoma. He then transferred to Troy, where after a year, he was kicked off 3rd team as well. He then went to Northeast Mississippi Community College, where he excelled and ultimately ended up at Arkansas State. He actually had a pretty decent career there and ended up making an NFL attempt. The Redskins gave him a look, but he never was able to stay on a practice squad or anything like that, ending his hopes at an NFL career. He signed on with a few teams in the Arena Football League, but nothing ever really panned out there. Like I said, I'm going to have a more in-depth video on him in the coming weeks, so if you'd like to learn more and hear about his full story, make sure to stay tuned for that. Number 7 on this list is Dan Buckner, who committed to Texas. He attended Allen High School in Texas. During his high school career, he posted 2,500 yards on 150 catches with 33 touchdowns. He was a first-team 5A All-State selection by the AP and the Texas Sports Writers Association as a senior. During his final season, he had 53 catches for 1,000 yards and 17 touchdowns. He appeared in 12 games for the Longhorns during his freshman season, but didn't see the field that much. He caught 5 passes for 84 yards with 2 touchdowns. During his sophomore season, he became one of the best targets for the team. He appeared in 14 games, finishing with 45 catches for 450 yards and 4 touchdowns. After that season, he opted to transfer to Arizona, where he was hoping for more playing time. In 2011, he caught 42 passes for 600 yards and 2 touchdowns. As a senior in 2012, he had career bests across the board. He caught 61 passes for just under 800 yards with 5 receiving touchdowns. He went undrafted in the 2013 NFL Draft, but was signed as an undrafted free agent with the Cardinals. He was released, though, in September. He was then picked up by the Buccaneers and made the practice squad, but was never promoted to the active roster. In October of 2014, he signed with the Ottawa Redblacks of the CFL. He never appeared in a game with them, though. Then, he was traded to the Calgary Stampeders, but also never suited up. He then spent time in the Arena Football League with the Arizona Rattlers and the LA Kiss, and that was the last information I was able to find on him. Number 6 on this list is Aldarius Johnson. He attended Northwestern High School in Miami. During his last 2 seasons in high school, he caught 150 passes for 2,300 yards and 32 touchdowns. He stayed local as he committed to the U. He never quite lived up to the hype while with the Hurricanes, as he finished his Miami career with 62 catches for 750 yards and 4 touchdowns in 34 career games. Entering his senior season, the team announced that he'd be suspended for the season for a violation of team rules. He reportedly received multiple cash gifts, food and drinks, and trips to strip clubs as part of the benefits he received from Nevin Shapiro, a case in which 8 players were suspended because of their involvement. However, he wasn't suspended due to that, and to this day, no one truly knows why exactly he was suspended, and that was the end of his days in Miami. In 2012, he did participate at their pro day, but was never able to form any sort of career in the NFL. As recently as 2016, he was a wide receivers coach at Miami Norland High School, and he's a certified adult youth fitness trainer and CEO of Johnson One-on-One Training. Before we get to the top 5, if you could please take a second and give this video a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps share the video with more college football fans, and it only takes a second to do. Number 5 on this list goes to Michael Floyd. He attended Creighton Durham Hall High School. During his senior season, he caught 63 passes for 1,200 yards and 16 touchdowns. During his junior season, he caught 63 passes for 1,200 yards with 16 touchdowns. As a senior, he had 59 catches for 1,200 yards and 17 touchdowns, while also adding 500 rushing yards on the ground. He was named Minnesota Player of the Year twice by the AP and Gatorade. He was a USA Today All-American and was also picked to play in the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. He committed to Notre Dame. He played in 11 games as a true freshman. He had 7 touchdowns on the season, breaking the record for an Irish freshman, while adding 48 catches to break another Notre Dame freshman record. His 719 receiving yards set the mark for Notre Dame first-year players. During his sophomore season, he missed half the year with a fractured clavicle. Still, he finished the year with 9 receiving touchdowns and almost 800 receiving yards in only 7 games of action. During his junior season, he really lit up the stat sheet. He had 79 catches, which was the second most in a season in program history. He had over 1,000 receiving yards, the 7th most all-time. His 12 receiving touchdowns were the 4th most all-time. Floyd was named MVP for Notre Dame and was the Sun Bowl MVP as well. He returned for his senior season, catching 100 passes, surpassing his career high, and setting a new Notre Dame record. He also finished with 1,147 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. He set school records for career receptions, career 100-yard games, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. He was selected by the Cardinals with the 13th overall pick in the 2012 NFL Draft. He played in all 16 games his rookie season, finishing with 45 catches for 560 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then, for his second season, he had 65 catches for 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. Over his next 3 seasons, he caught 130 passes for 2,100 yards and 16 touchdowns. However, Floyd was released by the Cardinals on December 14th of 2016 following a DUI arrest. He was claimed off waivers by the Patriots just a few days later. In May of 2017, he signed with the Vikings. But a few months later, he was suspended for the first 4 games of the season after violating the NFL's policy and program of substances of abuse. He barely saw the field that season as he caught only 10 passes. Over the next 3 seasons, he'd spend time with the Redskins, Saints, and Ravens. He had a very promising start to his NFL career, but sadly, he just couldn't keep it together, and now he's out of the league. Number 4 on this list is John Baldwin. He attended Aliquippa High School in Pennsylvania. He was a Super Prep All-American and was the Northeast Offensive Player of the Year. During his final 2 seasons in high school, he racked up 62 catches for 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns. He stayed close to home, committing to Pittsburgh. He saw limited action during his freshman year, but still finished with 18 catches for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. During his sophomore season, he turned into one of the top weapons on the team, as he finished the season with 57 catches for 1,111 yards and 8 touchdowns. Then, during his junior season, he had 53 catches for 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. He finished his Pittsburgh career top 12 in all 3 of those categories. He was selected with the 26th overall pick in the 2011 draft by the Kansas City Chiefs. In week 2 of the 2011 preseason, he suffered a wrist injury after a locker room fight with teammate Thomas Jones that sidelined him for the rest of the preseason. He finished his rookie campaign with 21 catches for 250 yards and a touchdown. Then, in 2012, he had 20 catches for 300 yards and a touchdown. In August of 2013, he was traded to the 49ers. He only saw 9 targets all season and finished with only 3 catches. He was waived in August of 2014. Shortly after, he was picked up by the Lions, but was waived after failing his physical. Just a few years after being a first-round pick, his career was over. According to his LinkedIn page, he is currently a senior vice president at Investor Funding in Chandler, Arizona. Before we get to the top 3, drop a comment down below and try to guess who the top 3 wide receiver recruits were in 2008. I'll give you a hint, 2 of them are currently still in the NFL. Coming in at number 3 is DeAndre Brown. He attended Ocean Springs High School in Mississippi. During his senior season, he had 36 catches for 700 yards and 15 touchdowns and totaled 1,800 all-purpose yards to go along with 230 rushing yards and 65 tackles on defense. As the number 3 wide receiver recruit in the nation, he shocked everyone by committing to Southern Miss. He immediately burst onto the scene his freshman year as he caught 67 passes for over 1,100 yards with 12 touchdowns. He was top 5 in the conference in all 3 of those categories. But his numbers went down the following season, as he caught 47 passes for 800 yards and 9 touchdowns. He appeared in only 6 games his junior season, catching 20 passes for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. He opted to enter the NFL draft as opposed to returning for his senior season. Brown was signed by the Philadelphia Eagles as an undrafted free agent following the 2011 NFL draft, but he was waived shortly after, and that would be the end of his NFL career. He later signed with the Knoxville Nighthawks of the Professional Indoor Football League for the 2013 season. Then he was assigned to the Voodoo of the Arena Football League in 2014. In May of 2016, he was signed by the Green Bay Blizzard. Then he re-signed with them in 2017. And last, in 2019, he was playing for the Columbus Lions. Number 2 on this list is AJ Green. He attended Somerville High School in South Carolina. Many outlets had him as the number 1 wide receiver, but 24/7 Sports had him at number 2. Green earned All-State honors 4 times and was the only junior nominated to the 2006 USA Today All-American First Team, after having 75 catches for 1,400 yards and 16 touchdowns during his sophomore season. He was also selected as a member of the Rivals.com Junior All-American team based off those stats. His 5,400 career receiving yards ranks 2nd all-time in receiving records at the National Federation of High Schools. His 279 career receptions ranked 4th. He had a fantastic freshman season for Georgia in 2008. He was named the SEC's Offensive Freshman of the Year, as he had 56 catches for just under 1,000 yards with 8 touchdowns. All 3 of those were Georgia freshman records. He also led the SEC in receiving yards, and it was the 3rd most in Georgia history. He missed time his sophomore season, appearing in only 10 games, but he still led the team with 53 catches for 800 yards and 6 touchdowns. He was elected All-SEC First Team by the AP, the coaches, and ESPN. He was suspended the first 4 games of the 2010 season after he admitted to selling his 2009 Independence Bowl jersey for $1,000. He appeared in 9 games and finished the 2010 season with a team-high 57 catches for 850 yards and 9 touchdowns. He declared for the 2011 NFL Draft. He's currently 4th all-time in Georgia history in receptions, 3rd all-time in receiving yards, and 2nd all-time in touchdowns. He was selected by the Bengals with the 4th overall pick in the 2011 NFL Draft. Since then, AJ Green has had an incredible career. He's been a Pro Bowler 7 times and a second-team All-Pro 3 times. After being an Ironman and barely missing any time through his first 7 seasons, the last 3 years have been a struggle as he's appeared in only 25 games, with 16 of those actually coming last season, but 2020 was by far AJ Green's worst year of his career while with the Bengals. So far, AJ Green has 649 catches for 9,500 yards and 65 receiving touchdowns. Coming in at number 1 on this list, though, is Julio Jones. He attended Foley High School in Alabama, where he played wide receiver and defensive end. Back in 2008, he had a rating of 99.92. He attended Foley High School in Alabama. During his junior year, he got 75 passes for 1,300 yards and 16 touchdowns. While doing research, Julio Jones reportedly had the nickname Waffle House while in high school because he was always open. If that's true, that's arguably one of the best nicknames I've ever heard of. He was one of the top wide receiver recruits in the nation and decided to stay close to home, committing to Alabama. Julio Jones became the first true freshman wide receiver ever to start in a season opener for the Tide. He finished his freshman season leading all receivers on the team with 58 catches for 900 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was named to the second team All-SEC and was named SEC Freshman of the Year. Although he had only 1 year under his belt, he was already drawing NFL comparisons, and many people believed he was already a lock to be the top wide receiver taken in whatever NFL draft he entered. He had a bit of a sophomore slump as his numbers took a hit across the board, but he bounced back his junior season and looked like the best wide receiver in the nation. He finished the year with 78 catches for 1,100 yards with 7 touchdowns. In addition, he had 8 rushes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. When he ended his Alabama career, he was second in receptions with 179 and second in receiving yards with 2,600. He was also fourth in touchdown catches with 15. As expected, he declared early for the NFL draft. He was selected number 6 overall in the 2011 draft by the Falcons. Since then, Julio Jones has been one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and is all but surely going to be a Hall of Famer. Since he entered the league, he's been a 2-time first-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, and led the NFL in receiving yards twice. He was named to the 2010s All-Decades team. His average of 95.5 yards receiving per game is currently an NFL record. He has 848 receptions for nearly 13,000 yards and 60 receiving touchdowns. Currently, he is 29th all-time in catches, 20th all-time in receiving yards, but he's tied for 88th all-time in receiving touchdowns. Well, that wraps up this top 10. Who is a wide receiver on this list that you completely forgot about? Or who's a wide receiver that didn't pan out the way you thought they would have? Drop a comment down below and let me know. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up as it really helps share the video with more college football fans, and it allows me to make more videos like this. If there's a top 10 you'd like to see next, drop a comment down below and it very well could be my next video. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to the channel. If you love college football content, then this is definitely the place for you. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.